Let's now work on problem number 17 from your textbook. As you can see, I've copied out the cash flows for these two potential investments. And we're asked to consider those and that they're mutually exclusive. And whichever project we choose, we require 11% return on our investment. Okay, so the first one is the payback period. So I'm going to do this fairly quickly using my calculator here. You see my trusty calculator. And so in the first case, we've got $455,000 initial investment. And we want to know how long it would take to pay it back. So if we subtract out the first year's cash flows, $58,000, we see that we've still got $397,000 to pay. So we subtract out the $85,000, and we see that we still have $312,000 left to pay. So we subtract out the next $85,000. We see we still got $227,000. So we've gone 3 years, $227,000 left to pay. So we're going to divide that by the $572,000, and we see that's about 0.4. So this is on A, the payback is 3.4 years. Is that good? I'm liking 3.4 years. So let's move on to B. In the case of B, we start with an investment of $65,000. After the first year, when we collect $31,000, we'll have $34,000 left. So we take out the $28,000 from year 2, and we see that we have $6,000 left. So it's 2 years and a fraction. We'll divide that $6,000 by $25,500, which is the third year's amount, and we get 0.23. So we're going to call this 2.24 years, or in essence, 2.25. Okay. So if this is our only criteria, which one do we choose? Well, B has a better payback. Okay. So that's payback. Now what we want to do is part B. And part B wants discounted payback. So the first thing we're going to have to do is discount all of these cash flows that we see here. Okay, so the 455,000 stays. We take 58,000, put that as our future value. Make sure there's nothing in payments. Put 11% in as the discount period. And 1 is the end. 1 is the end. We compute the present value. And I get 52,252. And so we don't have to change the end. I'm going to put 31,000 in as a future value for B there. Is the future value for B, and we'll compute the present value of that as well. I'm getting 27,927. 928. We good? Now we go to year 2, so we're going to put 2 in as the n. 2 in as the n, and we have $85,000 for the 1, or 68,988. And we have $28,000. 22,725. Okay, and then we have 85,000 again as the future value, but now we're going to do 3n. Compute the present value of 62,151. I put in the 25,500 as a future value, and we'll compute the present value of 18,645. And then we put $72,000 in as a future value, but now we're discounting 4 periods. Compute the present value, and I'm getting 47, 429, and I put in the, oops, that's 572, sorry, 572. Future value, compute the present value. We're getting 376, 794. And the 19,000 as a future value of 12,516. Okay. So now we need to do is calculate the payback, right? So let's start. Start with 455,000, and we're going to subtract out 52,252 and 68,988 and 62,151, and we're going to get still have 271 left. So we're going to divide that by what we get in the final year, divided by 376,794, and we get 0.72. So this is for part A, 3.72 or 3.7 years. Let's look what we get for B. We start with 65,000 as initial investment. We subtract out the 27,928. We subtract out the 22,725. We subtract out the 18,645, and we get, I went too far. Let's start over. We start with 65,000. We subtract out the 27,928. That gives us 37,072. We subtract out the 22,725. That gives us 14,347. So we're going to go past that in the third year. So divide this by the third year's cash inflows, divided by 18,645, and we get 2.77. Years. Okay, that's parts A and B. What does part C say? If you apply the net present value criterion, which investment will you choose? Okay, so let's try part C now, which is net present value. Okay. This is column A and column B. So I'm just going to take my cash flows, my net present values function. I'm going to hit cash flows. My initial cash flow now is 455. I'm going to make that negative and put that in as my initial cash flow. And then in year one, we're going to get 58,000. Enter that. Only get one of them. Enter that. Cash flows year two is $85,000. I'm going to enter that. There's one of them. And the third cash flow is $85,000. I guess I could have done that as two. Maybe go up into. I'm going to enter that, and there's one of them. And then we've got 570. There's one of them. And then cash flows 4 is 572. Enter that, and there's one of them. I think that's it. So I'll compute the internal rate of return, and I'm getting 18.15%. Well, I just calculated internal rate of return, sorry, which is D. All right, we'll come back to C, which is D. So the internal rate of return for A is 18.15%. Sorry about that. And let's go ahead and do B, since I'm thinking about it. We'll put in 65,000 negative. Let's see, the cash flow is going to do 65,000 negative. We're going to enter that as the initial cash flow. And the cash flow one is going to be 31. We'll enter that. There's one of them. Cash flow 2 is 28. We'll enter that, and there's one of them. Cash flow 3 is 25,500. Enter that. No, there's one of them. And cash flow 4 is $19,000. We'll enter that. And note that there's one of them. And that should do it. It does. Let's compute the internal rate of return and compute the internal rate of return. And we're getting 23.65. And so using internal rate of return, we would choose B. It's the same as we would have done for payback. Now let's look at net present value. Now remember, when we did the discounted payback, we already calculated the present value of each of the cash flows. So let's go ahead and note them again. For A and for B. We had $455,000 negative for the initial investment of $65,000 initial investment. Then we had $52,252. And we had $68,988. And we had $62,151 and $376,794. Okay. And on this side we had $27,928. We had $22,725. We had $18,645, and we had $12,516. It's a matter of adding all those up. Let's do it. Okay, so we have 4055, which is a negative, plus 52,252, 52,252, plus 68,988, plus 62,151, plus 376,794 equals 105,185. Okay, and on the B, we have 65,000. Let's see, that's a negative. And then we add in 27,928, 27,928, and we added 22,725. We add in 18,645. We add in 12,516. We're getting 16,814. Okay, now off the bat, we say, look, that they both have positive net present value, so they're both acceptable. We can only do one. It's like A gives us the best return, right? But we're investing $455,000, so I think we need more information here before we would make a choice. I mean, it looks like 105, 185, and A would be the best, but there's a huge difference in the amount of money you have to invest between them. So maybe a little more thought. Okay, so we've done A, B, C, D. What's E? If you apply the profitability index criteria, which investment will you choose? Well, the profitability index, remember, is going to be the present value of the future cash flows divided by the investment. So let's go ahead with E. And you might not like it, but here's what I'm going to do because I want to be able to fit this all on the screen so you can see it. I'm going to put E up here. So now we want to add up just these future cash flows and divide it by that. Okay? So here we go. Just the future cash flows. So 455, 455 plus 105, 185. So the present value of the future cash flows is 560, 185. divided that by the initial investment of $455,000. And that will tell us that we're getting 1.23. Our cash flows, the present value of the cash flow is going to be 23% higher than the investment. Okay, so let's do the same with B. We know that we had $65,000 initial investment, and the present value of the cash flows is $16,000 greater than that. So the future value of the cash flows would be $81,814. Divide that by the $65,000 initial investment, and we get 1.26. So in this case, we're led to think that B is a better investment. Okay. And we finally come to F. Based on your answer of 1 through E, which project will you finally choose and why? Well, in this instance, the net present value criteria implies that you should accept project A because it gives you a greater dollar, the dollar value, the dollar amount you get in excess of net present value equals 0 is 105,000 versus 16,814. However, the profitability index, the payback period, the discounted payback, and the total rate of return imply that you should accept project B. So the final decision is going to have to be based on a couple of things. We would first come down on the side of net present value because, as we mentioned in class, this is our best sort of foolproof method. So it doesn't have the ranking problems that some of the other methods might have. However, it also is way larger than the other. And so if it means that for the next 5 years, it's the only investment we can engage in, and there might be other profitable opportunities out there, we might have these other kinds of ideas weighing on us. We're going to do this on the exam, though. You might say that all of them seem to be acceptable. So let's take the one that gives us the greatest return using net present value, which would be project A. Hope you enjoyed that.